So good evening and welcome to the regular board meeting for the Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees. My name is Paul Manning, I'm the chair, and I call our meeting to order. We are going to have O Canada by Springfield Middle School. Please stand if you can do so. Thank you to Springfield Middle School, much appreciated. We have a treaty acknowledgement. I'm going to ask Trustee Rowan to read out our treaty acknowledgement, please.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thanks, Melissa. For those of you that are listening online, here in the room tonight we have Superintendent Reed, we have Assistant Secretary Treasurer Thiessen, Assistant Superintendent Fieldberg, we have Trustee Rowland, Trustee Boytson, Trustee Dent, Trustee Nickel, Trustee Smith, Trustee Rowan, Trustee Wilson, Trustee Harris, and myself, and we also have Sarah Scott, our board support here. So thanks to all of you for being here. We're going to have the adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved, the board approve our agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nichols, seconded by Trustee Wilson. Any questions to our agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. The next part is Chair's comments. Certainly send all questions to jody.thiessen@sunrisesd.ca. If you have questions, put your name and address of the sender to be included in the email, and we'll get to your questions at the question period tonight. I'm going to open up to share a story. Who would like to start us off about sharing a story? Oh, Trustee Rowan.
I'd like to start by thanking our schools for being so welcoming. Whenever we're on school tours, the staff and students always make me feel so welcome. Along those lines, I'd like to thank SCI for allowing me to attend their Remembrance Day ceremony on November 8th. Not only do they open their doors to me as a trustee, but they were also welcoming to the public that came to attend. One of my favorite parts of the SCI Remembrance Day ceremony is the slideshow that is filled with staff and students' loved ones who have or are currently serving in the military. Additionally, I'd like to give a shout out to the École Dugald School esports team. This Saturday, they will be participating in the Rocket League provincial playoffs at Daniel McIntyre Collegiate Institute in Winnipeg. EDS has 6 teams competing. The competition begins at 10 a.m. and spectators are welcome to attend in person or watch virtually via their Twitch stream. In the next 2 weeks, we're having a couple of PAC meetings coming up. SCI has their PAC meeting on Tuesday, November 26th. Kim Mackey will be kicking off the evening with a presentation on addictions. And on Wednesday, November 27th is the École de Gold School PAC meeting. Both meetings will be held at their respective schools and their libraries at 7 p.m.
Thanks, Trustee Rowan. Anyone else? Trustee Nickel? My apologies.
While I was making the rounds of Whitemouth School, I was noticing a number of people that was not gainfully employed at Whitemouth School, but they were volunteers. So this time I'd like to give a good shout out to the volunteers of Whitemouth School that has volunteered for many things. There was volleyball tournaments that there was volunteers there. There was hot lunch program, the volunteers are there. So at this time I'd just like to give a big shout out and a thank you to all the volunteers that are volunteering in Whitemouth School and any other volunteers that volunteer in Sunrise School schools.
Yeah, thanks, Don. Well put. Anyone else? Okay, I'm scared to talk. Sorry for my apologies, my phone going off. Remembrance Day is a huge day across schools, and all schools have done a great job in the work that they're doing. So, Trev, if you get a chance to talk to our administrators and talk to the people that are putting on Remembrance Day services, it's a huge day for us, and it's something always to remind our students about. And it's always, I can tell you that as a former teacher and principal, you're all worried when you go to an assembly that some kid is going to go ahead and say something or do something. And you know what? 99% of the time it doesn't happen, and our kids are great. So thanks to those things that continue to go on, Trev, and share that thing. I think we all received an email from Kevin Dell at SEI with regard to the amazing thing that's going on with their band program. I'd be remiss not to talk about it. There's some great things that are going on there and some accolades and the work that they're doing. And it's not new. It's been going on for quite some time with the parents. The parent group that's out in the Oakbank area that support it, but we've been putting out some pretty great kids that have played, and it's continuing to happen. So Kevin did some sharing, that was great. And if you're out next week and you want to come to a Powerview drama, Alice in Wonderland, is that right? Okay. It's Alice in Wonderland, and if it's wrong, it goes on Wednesday, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and if you get a chance, get a chance to get out there. And if you get a chance, I need to put a plug in, ArtSpeak is running this week, and so Thursday night is a presentation out at Camp Cedarwood with ArtSpeak. If we can get out there, it would be great to take a look at some of the stuff that our high school talent development kids are doing. It's simply amazing. So that's Shara's story. Okay. We do not have any board delegation, so minutes. Our minutes from November the 5th, be it resolved that the board adopt our November the 5th regular board meeting minutes. I need to move in a second. Moved by Trustee Dent, seconded by Trustee Rowan. Any questions to those minutes? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And so it passed with 2 abstaining. Thank you. Superintendent's report. Trev?
Thank you. So just a couple things here to highlight. This Friday, of course, is a professional development day across the school division, and I just thought I would share the offerings there of what's going across the division. Often these days are just left up to schools to plan, but this is one of the days that we decided to gather our teachers centrally again. So some different offerings for the grade groups across the school division and where they'll be located across the division. Just a big thank you to our division principals and our program leaders who did the vast majority of work getting ready for this day. Anytime we gather our staff, whether it's 800 people in Beausejour for the division PD day or some smaller groups, it still takes a lot of work in logistics, and so thank you to them for doing that. Thought it was just noteworthy that recently both the Canadian Pediatric Society and the Manitoba Pediatric Society released position papers on literacy. The Canadian one came out in late October and followed by the one from the Manitoba Society in early November. And what's important to note there is both of these position statements on early literacy align very nicely with what we're doing in Sunrise around training our teachers and our expectations for teaching our students how to read. So just a reinforcement of the direction that we are taking. Also thought it was noteworthy that Bill 21, which we did talk a little bit about last spring, the Public Schools Amendment Act, it did not receive first reading in the spring, and that was not going to go through, but it went through very quickly this fall, and it was passed and will receive royal assent on July 1st, 2025. And that is the one that changes the definition of resident student and changes school ages for children. Now, the school age piece will have virtually no impact across our division because the overwhelming majority of students that we see in grade 1 were with us in kindergarten. So that's really a non-factor. However, changing the definition of resident pupil or resident student to include anybody who is living in our catchment area through a responsible adult, not necessarily a legal guardian, does have the potential to impact student enrollment. We have no idea what that impact would potentially be. We're in the same situation as many other school divisions, waiting to see what this is going to look like, but something that we just need to be aware of. And finally, just going back to November 6th, a bit of a non-routine start to the day as we had a couple of highway closures in the Beausejour area due to smoke to a peat fire. So early start to the day, trying to figure that out, what the impacts were going to be. And the net result was many buses that took students to Gillis, Beausejour Early Years, and Edward Schreier School were canceled because of the highway closures. But although our buses were canceled, the overwhelming majority of students still made it to school with the help of their families. And so just a big thank you going out to the families for their flexibility and commitment to education and getting their kids to school. And also a big thank you to our transportation department and our bus drivers. I did stop in that morning just to see how things were going. There was no time for me to visit because they were all too busy. You know, I was there for a couple minutes and they were just running off their feet, making sure that communication with families was happening and answering questions. And just a thank you to the staff at the 3 schools for their flexibility, and to the staff who had to take different routes to work because of the highway closures, and you know, kind of dealing with students coming and going, and then of course making sure students got home safely at the end of the day with parents picking them up. So lots of flexibility required on that day, and just happy to report it all seemed to run very smoothly operationally from the central point of view, and that would probably back up with the fact that we did not receive any concerns or complaints from any of our families about how the day managed. So that was well-handled day by our schools and our transportation department and our families. So thank you again to all of them.
Mr. Reid, whenever you get a day where we cancel buses and nobody's complaining one way or another, that's pretty good. Very, very good. So kudos to the departments as to how things are going. Any questions for Mr. Reid? Okay, thanks, Jeb. Jeb, can we put up our board reporting schedule just very quickly? Yeah. And just a reminder that our schedule was supposed to have HR. We're not having an HR presentation because somebody's away, but we will get it. We will get it when somebody's back. I think you're all aware of that. But that's for information in the process of where we are. I'm going to go to our Secretary Treasurer's report and put the floor to you, Jody.
Great, thank you. So yeah, I have a couple items on the report. Trevor and I both were very busy on November 6th in the wee early morning, and I just want to say kudos to, just like Trevor mentioned, kudos to the families and to our transportation department. It was an unusual circumstance. It wasn't just, you know, a bad weather day. It wasn't a blizzard. This was an unusual thing, and I think it went very well given the circumstances that we were facing. So that was our November 6th in transportation. November 12th was a different morning as well. We've been growing our spare pool over the course of the last year. November 12th, we actually utilized every single spare bus driver that we could. We had to cancel one run. It was the first time in a long, long time. It was one of those mornings where we weren't sure what was going to happen, and yeah, we utilized every spare that we could. We did anticipate a scenario like this happening last year, and the prior week I actually spoke with our transportation manager and said, remember that letter we sent out last year? I think we should just inform our families should something happen. And that Friday I had the letter in my queue ready to review and update, and by that Tuesday morning we sent out that letter to the families, just advising them, making sure that they're aware, given some circumstances, we may be canceling a bus ride at short notice. When we do that, when we send out this letter, we also include information as to if you may be interested in becoming a bus driver, or if you want to reference somebody to become a bus driver. And that morning after we canceled a run, we received 2 inquiries about applying for transportation. So we want to grow that spare list again in those events where there's peak times, peak uses of our spares. We are thinking outside of the box when it comes to recruitment. We've posted billboards inside hockey arenas without our communities to see if we can get any attraction. And this week we are sending somebody for bus driver training. So we'll find out by the end of the week if they were successful. But our recruitment is ongoing. Attending MASBO conference today, we are not the only ones in the boat. We see others trying to recruit as much as we are. But at the same time, we do have 93 runs. Talking to some of my colleagues, they have 20 runs or 60 runs. So we do have a big transportation department, and it's important that we just maintain bringing on those spare bus drivers, and try and think outside the box. So, and that's what we're doing to try and address that. Another thing I wanted to point out with our finance department, when we send students on field trips, sometimes we don't use our own buses. We hire third parties. One matter MSBA brought to our attention is making sure that the third parties actually have the insurance requirements, which means they need to have the minimum commercial liability and name us as additional named insured. So we are working with the schools, and our purchasing department is trying to work with our vendors to ensure that they have adequate insurance. We have, and I have advised schools that if they don't have adequate insurance, we cannot use them as a transportation vendor. So we are working closely with the current vendors. Some have no problem providing us commercial insurance. Others, we have said, thanks for your business, but unfortunately, they don't have the adequate insurance. Where it gets a little bit more trickier is when we have schools using additional transportation outside of our country, working with U.S. vendors. Their insurance is a little bit different, so we do have to run everything by MSBA to make sure that the insurance is adequate. Sometimes when that happens, the insurance premium or the cost of the original quoted trip does go up because the requirement of the adequate insurance. So we are working again with some of our vendors or some of our schools that are going to other locations to identify that insurance is an important thing, especially if we're putting our students on a bus. It's very important to have the adequate insurance. And that's kind of the summary. If anybody has questions, I'm available.
Anything for Jody? Thanks, Jody. Appreciate it. Oh, go ahead, Trustee Rowland.
I was wondering if you were going to elaborate on the maintenance needs at the school for future budgets for the Springfield Collegiate, I think you were referring to.
So I have Springfield Collegiate, the building envelope. I've identified what is ongoing still with the capital plan, and then just ongoing regular needs. I guess it should have said at the schools. We're working on the future budget for 25-26, so not just SCI, for the division as a whole. working on identified needs, because over the last year, there's been some things that have come up that were not on the school's list last year, and we just want to make sure that it's not just a one school request, that it's school-wide or multiple schools are requesting it, making sure that it fits within the division's budget. Yeah. No, that's okay. Sorry.
Anyone else? Trustee Rowan.
Jody, you identified some of the temperature concerns that we're seeing at SCI. I understand that you guys are still working on that with SCI and the contractors. Is this still kind of covered under the work, like it's not coming out of our budget? And are we getting adequate responses from the contractors to get in and address some of the issues that they're seeing?
Yeah, there's been times where I'm not looped in with the issues right away. It's just been brought to my attention the last couple of weeks. We have been identifying to the contractors and all parties involved to maintain communication in the same email chain. This way, not one vendor has more or one contractor has more insurance or more information than the other. My understanding in the last little while, there were 2 sites in the school that had higher temperatures than they should be. I personally can't do anything about it, but as long as we consistently communicate that with the contractors, that they know to address it. There are some valves that still are that are on back order, and we're waiting for them to be replaced to finally balance the system. It is under preliminary preliminary balancing, so we'll still see these unique fluctuations. But as long as the school is communicating to those vendors, they can remotely connect and modify it to see what the issue is. So I don't think I've completely addressed the question, like when is the end date, but we are still waiting for back order parts.
So, Trustee Rowan, I think it's a good question. I think that part of it is, can you update us when the temperature at SCI is regulated? Can you let us know? Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to move on. Excuse me. 8.1, we have board business, so grade 12 provincial assessment. I'm going to turn this to you, Trev.
So you have the report there for our grade 12 provincial standards tests, and sort of as expected with our other provincial assessments, our school division typically sits at or just slightly above the provincial average, so right where we would expect our students to be. Just to go a little bit more, and we see, if you look at the individual, you see some years we're above, some years we're below. But overall, we would sort of be at average or slightly above. Some of the variation in there should be expected. We just have different groups of kids on a year-to-year basis, right? And that variation, I think, is all within range. The one thing that I think I would like to highlight, if we were, well, we will, just drill a little bit deeper on, is the one place where we're seeing our students score just slightly below on a regular basis is in the pre-calculus math. And so for the last number of years, they've just been scoring slightly below. That variation, I wouldn't say is alarming, but it can, given the fact that it's consistent, it's a little bit curious. So with that, with those results that we get back from the province, it's actually broken down into 5 categories or 6 categories, I believe. And so a little bit of a curiosity of, are we, is it the same category? Is it the same area that we're always scoring lower in? Is that what's driving the lower average? Is it something else? So I'll be kicking this over to our numeracy program leader and our division principals to do a little bit of a deeper look at, to see if there's something within that data specific to this one provincial exam, provincial standards test, to see if there's something we can address as a school division.
Any questions for Trevor? Trustee Nicol?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed to see the scores in pre-cal math, not only in Whitemouth but also in the province. That means province only got an average of 62, so there's lots of people getting the 90. So how many people are getting below 50? I can imagine there's many. I'm just talking about history now. In 1998, when these still writing the same pre-cal math, if the average of the province was 62, there would be some concern. That's the province, not worrying about Sunrise. Sunrise was always higher in 1998, but also the province is higher. So I think that we have to look at it as the province as a whole. Why are we getting such low marks in pre-cal math?
I can maybe make one comment just specific to the 23-24 school year. The data that's up there is compared to, you know, the years, and that's, you know, not making excuses, but because we probably don't really still fully understand the impact of COVID and the pandemic. And so we have 3 years of data that were pre-pandemic where the average was closer to 70%, and then we have 1 year of data post-pandemic that where it's closer to 60% as that provincial average. I can't help but think that in some way that is factoring into that data. So it will be interesting to see where that provincial average and the Sunrise average goes in future years.
Trustee Dent?
Actually, if you look closer at the numbers, excuse me, the pre-cal math is, Sunrise students are doing better at that than they are at the applied math. So just as a, I mean, not compared to the rest of the province, but if you compare their percentages within the division, they are.
Thanks. Trustee Smith?
Well, this is just one thing that I actually spoke to a kid who graduated recently, and he had to do exams, and we have children who went out into the world and they didn't have that experience at all. So we have to remember that, and COVID had a huge effect on the world, and we're sending people out into the world that have no experience of having exams and having to be put through this test, this whole testing system at all. So what we're seeing now is the effects of COVID. Like, I remember going through high school, and if I had a 57 on exam, my mom would have freaked at me. Like, I'm just seeing COVID is a huge effect on all of these averages. So we have to remember that. That's what we're seeing now, is these effects.
Thank you. Trustee Rowan?
I think just to elaborate what Alicia is saying is, and further to Trevor, this graduating year, when COVID began, they were in grade 8, and the grade 8 math exams were canceled for those students. They did not do a grade 8 provincial exam. And 4 years later, they were in grade 11. I think their English exam was canceled by the province. And then now they're in grade 12, and that was the first time they were writing provincial exams. So it is a very unique group. They were the fully COVID group, start to finish. So it started in grade 8 for them. They never had a provincial exam in grade 8. It was canceled. So maybe there is something to be looking at here province-wide, and maybe it is the COVID. This is an interesting case to follow, let's say.
Thank you. Anyone else? I've never heard anybody say a fully COVID group, but as you talked through it, it kind of made sense, so thank you. Yeah. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you. We have, so 8.2 is now QP negotiation update. So we have a recommendation. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement reached on November the 6th, 2024 with QP Local 5097, representing custodians and maintenance employees. The recommended approval is subject to the successful ratification of the QP Local 5097 membership. I need to move in a second, or moved by Trustee Nicol and seconded by Trustee Boytson. Any comments to this? Trustee Harris.
Just for the record, due to a conflict of interest, I will need to abstain.
Thank you. Could you please note that for us, Sarah? Anyone else? Okay. Hearing none, we'll vote. Who are we missing, Sarah? Or, so it passed 8-0 with 1 abstention. Thank you for that. I do want to thank, our committee ourselves. Trustee Nichol and Trustee Boytson and myself were our trustee representatives, but we certainly had our Secretary Treasurer Jody Thiessen. We had Derek Ryback, our maintenance manager. We had Kristen Ursel, our secretary for HR, in that group, and so thanks for the work that they went ahead and did. But also thanks to our 3 employees that were on the CUPE side, to Nancy Sinclair, Jen Nadon, and Peter Stanley. Thanks to the group 3 of you for that. Whenever we get to ratify and complete a collective agreement, it is a big deal, so kudos to everybody that was involved and for the time put into it. Thank you for that. Dawn or Lorraine, did you want to add anything to that? Okay, thanks for doing it. Appreciate it. The other thing, I need to say one more thing. We do have a maintenance manager that has a great relationship with our custodians, and it was evident through that process. And thanks to Derek for the work that he goes above and beyond for us, for the school division with the custodians. Thank you. I'll move on to 8.3, Springfield Collegiate Institute. To be it resolved that the board approve in principle the SCI Junior Varsity Girls Volleyball Provincial Tournament in Verdun, November the 21st to the 23rd, subject to the superintendent's final approval. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Denton, seconded by Trustee Rowan. This is going to the provincial tournament, so they've made it to there. Is that this is something that they've won, and do you know, or? Anyways, they're going to the provincial, so they've had to win something, so kudos to them. So I have a motion on the floor. Sorry, any comments to the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0, thank you. Edward Schreier School Boys Hockey Tournament. So be it resolved, the board approve in principle the Edward Schreier School Boys Hockey Tournament in Emo, Ontario, January 10th to 12th, subject to the superintendent's final approval. Moving and seconded, moved by Trustee Smith and seconded by Trustee Harris. Any comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. Sarah, I didn't want Edward Schreier to go there anyways because they beat us last time, so no, it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. Committee reports. So Policy Committee, Trustee Rowan. Anything from the Policy Committee before we try to take a look at the notice of motion, well, the policies that are on there? Any comments from yourself?
Yeah, I will just say that policy did go back and take a look at policies 1, 2, 3, and 12. Some changes were made and they've been noted on the documents that are here up on ESB. And our next meeting date isn't until the new year, January 9th.
So we have the meeting minutes, and if there's any questions on the meeting minutes, they're provided there. Any questions to the policy meeting minutes from November the 14th, from anyone? Okay. So we're going to go through this process. So policy number 1, be it resolved that the board accept the recommended changes to policy number 1, page 1, under the heading of values number 2 as suggested. So I need a mover, trustee Rowan, and a seconder, trustee Dent. Any comments to that policy? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. It passed 9-0. Thank you for that. 8.8. This is policy number 1. Be it resolved that the board accept the recommended change to policy number 1, page 1, under the heading of values number 3 as suggested. Moved by trustee Rowan, seconded by trustee Boytson. Any questions of those? Trustee Nichol. Can we pull up the policy? Don, you need to put your mic on, please.
You want me to start all again from the front?
I think, Don, that if you're talking to a specific policy, then let's take a look at it.
Okay, I'm looking at policy number, number 3 in the values. And we took out problem solving. When I look at, whenever we change values, or anything we're dealing with policy 1, which deals with values and missions, I look at 3 things. If you change anything, does it make it any better? Does it make it any worse, or does it stay the same? In this case, I would probably like to have problem solving in there, mainly because the audience for this is not just educators, but also our stakeholders. And we are saying that problem solving is, if we take it out, we're saying that problem solving is not important, as important as the other ones. However, what I was saying is that, Melissa, when we were talking last night, we were saying that critical thinking, it does have a component of problem solving in there. Also with, when I was talking to Trevor later on, critical thinking has problem solving in there too. The trouble I have with that is it's in there, but no one knows it's in there. I didn't know it was in there. I'm not quite sure whether the parents know whether it's in there. Is there any way that we can put problem solving, this is my thinking, if we put down critical thinking in brackets, problem solving, that would probably tell the parents and the stakeholders and the math teachers and the science teachers that want to do something with problem solving. Or we could just make a note underneath it that says that critical thinking and creativity includes problem solving.
Okay, so I think what you're asking for is you're asking for a friendly amendment. And up on the board, it has critical thinking, and what you're looking for is critical thinking, and in parentheses, problem solving after critical thinking. Is that correct? Is that correct, Don?
Yes.
So is that okay for with the mover of the motion? That's trustee Rowan.
I'm okay with including a definition of problem solving being included in critical thinking and creativity.
So he's not about asking about putting a definition in there. He's talking about, after critical thinking, putting in parentheses, problem solving.
Sorry, he had said both options, but yes, I'm okay with putting in parentheses, problem solving.
Trustee Boytson, are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
So, if you can, Sarah, work your magic And whether it gets up on the board or not, we are going to put after critical thinking, and it's up on there. We're going to put in parentheses problem solving. Okay, with those, that's a friendly amendment, and then we're going to move forward with this. Is there anything else in here? Okay, having nothing else? Don't worry, Sarah, if you don't get it right now. We all know that we're going to go ahead, it's going to be in there. We're going to vote on it, and you can put it in afterwards. Don't worry about that. Okay? Okay, so with that friendly amendment, there's no other comment, we're going to vote. Maybe, Trevor, you need to go back to the other screen. Okay. So it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. We're now moving on 8.9, still in Policy 1. Be it resolved that the Board accept the recommended change to Policy Number 1, page 2, under the heading, Accordingly Number 1, as suggested. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Dent. Are there any questions with this? Put it up. Go ahead. We are looking at 8.9, changes to Policy Number 1. Page 2 under the heading Accordingly Number 1 as suggested. So Dawn, it's up on the board here. Is there anything up on the board that you want to go ahead and change? Okay, Dawn, I'm thinking I'm hearing everybody tell me that you don't have anything for this one. Okay, so we're good with this. No more questions. Hearing none, we're going to vote. People are reading your mind, Dawn. That's getting pretty scary. That's okay. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. So this is 8.10, Policy Number 1. Be it resolved the Board accept the recommended change to Policy Number 1, page 2, under the heading Accordingly as suggested. So Dawn, I think that you have something here, or do you?
I want to include what was struck out, but stopped after the organization. The board's major policy focus will be on the intended long-term impact outside the staff organization, period. And the reason is that I think explains explains a little bit better what the policy 2, what number 2 is about.
So I'm going to ask you, Melissa, is we put in the board's major policy focus will be on the intended long-term impacts outside of the staff organization, period. Is that going to change your policy? Would you like that? Can you agree to that as a friendly amendment? And will that change then what you're saying?
I don't think that it changes what we're saying. We were trying to look at this and look at the policy as a positive thing rather than looking at some of the negative connotations, which is why we had struck out that part. I think that it likely, I don't think that it would really impact what we're trying to do.
Trustee Dent, are you okay with that suggestion or not?
Yeah, I think I can support that suggestion.
Okay, so now the suggestion is that we're going to put in there, and don't worry, Sarah, you don't have to do this right this second. The board's major focus will be on the intended long-term impacts outside of the staff organization with a period. That will be included. Well, first of all, if it's a friendly amendment that isn't changing it, then we don't have to. And so far, the two people that have moved it are okay with it. So since they're okay with it, and there's nothing else to be said, we're going to go ahead and vote. So moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Dent. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and vote. And it passed 9-0. So now we're going on to policy number 2. Be it resolved that the board accept the recommended change to policy number 2, second paragraph as suggested. Moved by Trustee Rowan and seconded by Trustee Boytson. Is there anything in there Dawn, is there anything there in 811?
Yes. If you look at the top, it says the Board of Trustees. Then you look at what we changed. It said Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees. We've always tried to keep things consistent. If you look at Policy 6, I think Policy 6 says the Board of Trustees of Sunrise School Division. Policy 9 has something else. And I'm suggesting that we decide right now, what are we going to call ourselves? Are we going to call ourselves the Board of Trustees, Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees? Decide in one name and make sure it's consistently through the whole set of policies. I'm suggesting that we just call ourselves the Board of Trustees. That's what I'm suggesting that we call ourselves.
So I think just to highlight what Trustee Nicol is speaking to is, if we look at the beginning of the policy, it starts with the Board of Trustees commits to. And then when we get to our second paragraph, the board refers to themselves as the Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees. And so I think the friendly amendment here would be to strike out in the second paragraph Sunrise School Division and replace it with the, so both paragraphs start with the Board of Trustees.
So Trustee Rowan, is this acceptable as a friendly amendment to you?
Trustee Nicol and I did have a conversation on this last night and recognized that there are issues in a number of our policies where we're not consistent. I'm absolutely okay with making that change, but it's also going to have to be something that as a committee we're aware of when moving forward with the other policies so that we can make it all align.
Thank you. And thanks for clarifying that, Trevor. And I think it's Trustee Boytson. Are you good with that?
Yes, I am.
All right, so with the friendly amendment, it's going to read the Board of Trustees instead of Sunrise School Division. Sarah, you don't have to worry about that right this second. But hearing it, are any other issues? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. So I can't tell if it passed or not. Oh, it did. There we go. 9-0. Thank you. So this is, that was 811. This is 812. Be it resolved that the board accept the recommended changes to policy 2, items 2.4, 2.5, 2.6 as suggested. So this is going to be moved by Trustee Rowan and seconded by Trustee Boytson. All right. Dawn, do you have any issues with this?
No.
All right, anyone else? Any other issues? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Oh, sorry.
I think it has the same thing that we wanted to clarify in the other, unless I have the wrong policy, policy 2.
2.4?
Hold on, just if I could have a moment. So I'm under policy
Can you bring that up, Tom?
8.12. Do you mind bringing it up just to make sure I'm looking at the right document? Oh, right, never mind. Yep, no, I'm good with that one. Yep.
We're going to have to do some work all the way around there. When it says Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees, we're going to go to the Board of Trustees. That is something that we're going to go ahead and work on. I don't think that we have to do every one right now because it's something that we're going to go ahead and eventually work on. Is there anything else though, Dustin, with that? Okay.
No, I'm good, thanks.
So we're good with that? Melissa and Lorraine, we're good? Okay, having none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0, thank you. And so now we're at 8:12, is that what we're at? 8:13, thank you. So be it resolved that the board accept the recommended changes to policy number 3 as suggested. So this is going to be moved by trustee Rowan and seconded by trustee Boytson. So Dawn, is there anything there in policy number 3 that you're looking to change?
Yes, values was crossed out, and I would like to see values put back in. The reason for that is that values is what is the underpin of the whole organization. The values of the organization is so important to me, and that's why I think that we should be putting it in. Aspiration is a little bit more what you want. The values is what we really think we should be doing, and I think that if we do any actions, we always should look at the values and see whether it aligns with the values. So I'd like to see the values put in.
So, whoops, you have to, so, Melissa, you move this, and so the statement up there says, what, Doc, go ahead.
Sorry, just maybe before you call for the friendly amendment, I would just highlight that this sentence again starts with Sunrise School Division Board. And if we're going to make a friendly amendment, why don't we also include the Board of Trustees will ensure? And so if you could include that in your, as a friendly amendment back to the mover and the seconder, I think it's probably appropriate.
So I think we're good with that, Melissa and Lorraine, correct? So it's going to read the Sunrise School Division Board, or the Board of Trustees, thank you, will ensure that the strategic plan, values, and economic resources, etc. So the word strategic plan and then values is included in it. Are you okay with that, Trustee Rowan?
So, just kind of getting back to our conversation on this, when we did have the conversation, we talked about the fact that the board's values, aspirations, and economic resources are covered in our strategic plan. But we did add something in there about the economic resources. So I guess if we wanted to include values, I'd be okay with that. The aspirations we had a hard time defining, which was part of why we wanted to take that out. But the way you worded it, Paul, it doesn't make sense. So we need to work on that a little bit more. Before
So the board, what's it called again? The Board of Trustees will ensure that the strategic plan and values, strategic plan, values, and economic resource capacities are reflected within the actions of the division. Let me read that sentence again. The board will ensure that, what's that? I know, I just wanted to see if you were paying attention. The Board of Trustees will ensure that the strategic plan, values, and economic resource capacities are reflected within the actions of the division. That's what the sentence would read, Melissa. Are we good with that?
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Lorraine, are we good with that?
I like it the way we have it. We do have a vision from our school division, and it says that every student will have the opportunity to experience the joy of learning in the Sunrise School Division in order to be better prepared for the future with the knowledge, skills, and values to achieve their own personal life goals. I see this more as we're strategic, we're governance, this shows our vision, but that explains a little bit more about our objectives. I'm okay with it, but I do like it better the way we have it up there.
So are you okay with it or not?
Yeah, okay, I'd be okay with it.
Okay, so now we have that written that way, and of course Sarah got all that, so the Board of Trustees will ensure that the strategic plan, comma, values, and economic resource capacities are reflected within the actions of the division. That's how it's going to read. Any questions on that? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0, thank you. And I'm on what number now? It looks like I'm 814. Thanks, Robin. So be it resolved that the board accept the recommended changes to policy number 12 as suggested. Please put up policy number 12, and it's moved by trustee Rowan and seconded by trustee Dent. All right. Okay, so is there anything changed here, Don, that you would like to see changed?
Yeah, yes, I'd like to change, to leave the implement in there. Appropriate, after talking to it, I knew what I wanted to change, but maybe appropriate wasn't the right answer, the right thing, and I would like to put down grade level. And the reason for that is it talks about provincial approved curricula, but it doesn't tell, to me, it doesn't tell the teachers or the principal that it's got to be not only approved, but it's got to be the grade level too of the curriculum. So I'd like to have just say we'll implement grade level, and then we have to strike out focus.
I'm not sure what you're looking for. Are you looking for all schools will focus on grade? Okay. So read it out for us, Don, please.
All schools will implement grade level provincially approved curricula.
So all schools will implement grade level provincially approved curriculum. All schools will implement grade level provincially approved curriculum. So that is what no?
Well, this is English-wise. Curriculum is 1. Curricula, LA is 2.
I knew that. Thanks, Don. Okay. All schools will implement grade level curricula that supports student learning about human diversity. So, Melissa, are you good? So, Don, go ahead.
Well, I don't think you had provincially approved.
All schools will implement grade level provincially approved curricula. All right. There was lots of marbles in my mouth here, sorry. So, trustee Rowan.
I'm okay with those changes.
Trustee Dent.
I'd prefer to see the changes that we've recommended.
Okay, so since it's not approved and it's not a friendly amendment, you can now, Dawn, put an amendment to it as opposed to a friendly amendment, and then we would vote on the amendment. So Dawn, what is your amendment to that?
Saying that all schools will implement grade level provincially approved curricula that then continues on.
Okay, I need a seconder to that amendment. Okay, Trustee Smith, you've given a second to it. So the amendment is that all schools will implement provincially approved curricula that support student learning about human diversity. Okay, what did I miss? Read it out. Go ahead. Oh.
People are shaking their heads.
All schools will implement provincially approved curricula Yeah, read it up.
I think it might be telling that we can't even read the amendment, so...
Okay, so that's my fault about reading it. but the amendment is here. All schools will implement grade-level, provincially approved curricula that support student learning about human diversity. So that is the amendment. So that is correct on? So that is we can vote, Robert's rules allows us to vote on this amendment. Okay, so let's vote on this amendment. Yes, Don?
Well, before you vote, I have a chance to talk about it, anybody else has a chance to talk about it, and then I have a chance to talk about it at the very end.
Okay, so I think you've had a chance to talk, but we'll give you some more time, but go ahead.
Okay, just to give you some history, I went back to my archives and on 2015 we were looking at the same policy, and at that time we were talking about whether we should put implement and focus, and we got rid of the focus and we decided on implement at that time, and it's been on that way since 2015. And the reason for that, and I'm quoting my notes now, I'm not quoting new stuff, I'm just quoting my notes, is that we looked up the definition of implement. Implement means to put something into action. A focus says that you're going to pay attention to it, but you can just pay attention to it, you can read it again, and you can say it's important and everything else, but there's no action. So that's the reason why I want to implement in there, because we should be implementing the curriculum. We just shouldn't be taking a focus on it, because focus is not action. Implement is action. And the other reason why, okay, that's the reason for why I'm doing implement. The reason why I want grade level is that if a teacher's teaching, so he's in grade 2 and he's teaching from the grade 5 curriculum, he is following our policy, because our policy says provincially approved curricula. It is approved, it's grade 5, but it's not grade level, it's not appropriate for the grade that he's teaching. That's why appropriate was not maybe necessarily the word that was the best way of doing it, because of all curriculum is kind of appropriate because the division has, or the province has said this is appropriate. But what's appropriate in grade 5 is not appropriate in grade 2. That's the reason why I want a grade level in there, because right now, if a teacher is doing grade 5 in grade 2, if the principal comes and talks to the teacher, if I was a teacher, I said, look, the policy says provincially approved. Is this provincially approved? Is it approved? And the principal will have to say, yes, it is. So therefore, he has to let the teacher teach grade 5 curriculum to grade 1. And I want that. I don't want that to happen. So that's the reason why I want to change those two changes.
Thank you. Anybody else want to talk about the amendment? Trustee Rowan.
I actually do like the word implement, because it, like the definition suggests, it gets some actionable on it, whereas focus might imply that how much focus is required and there might be room for latitude. But I also am wondering about, is curriculum not defined by grades by the province? Like I'm not a teacher, but I have not seen a curriculum, but does it not say by the province curriculum that it is grade oriented? I don't know if that's a redundancy or not.
Yes, it is. Lars?
It just occurred to me as Don was explaining that there is a technicality here, because students who qualify for modified programming actually don't get the grade level curriculum. There's permission for them to be provided instruction other than the grade level curriculum, and it's legislated that we have to. So if we're going to be super technical about that we must teach grade level curriculum, well then we can't modify courses for kids. We do change curriculum outcomes for kids who are entitled to modifications.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if there's no other comments, I'm going to go back to you, Don, for the last say before we vote on it.
This is just a question. After listening to last, I can grade level was something that I put in at 5 o'clock today, so I did not do as much research on as I did before. Is there any way, there's two ways I can do it. People might be unhappy with the grade level. I'm willing to take the grade level out, but I definitely would like to have the word implement in there. So even though I made the amendment, I need a second. So am I able to take it out, or is it better for to defeat the amendment, then I'll make another amendment with just implement in it?
My suggestion is, I think that we defeat this, and Dawn, if you want to make another amendment, then I think we go ahead and do that. But I don't think that we want to keep on working on an amendment on an amendment. Let's vote on the amendment, and we're going to do this by hand. And if it passes, fine. If it doesn't pass, then that's okay too. And then if we want to make a further amendment, and thanks Lars for that information, we'll go from there. So we're going to do this by hand. So all those in favor of the amendment that's on the table, and it is like this. I think all schools will implement grade level provincially approved curricula that support student learning about human diversity. So, all those in favor of that amendment? 1. Opposed? Okay, so it's defeated. Is there another amendment that somebody wants to talk about?
Yes. All schools will implement provincially approved curricula. Since there was two things we were changing at once, I probably should have made 2 amendments anyway.
So you're asking to say that all schools will implement provincially approved curricula that support student learning about human diversity. So what you're doing is you're taking out grade level. Okay, so I said all schools will implement provincially approved curricula. The old amendment had grade level in it. I didn't read it with grade level in it. I read it as all schools will implement provincially approved curricula that support student learning about human diversity. So what it does is that grade level is not there. Before we go there, I need a mover, I need someone, so Dawn is moving it. We need someone to second it. Are you seconding it?
I'll second it.
Okay. So, do you want to talk to this, Don?
No, I think I talked enough.
Anyone else want to talk to it?
Agreed. No, I think in all honesty, I think Don made a good point with implement as opposed to focus on. I get that understanding, and I think it is probably the more the direction that the policy committee was going for.
Okay. So we're going to vote on this amendment. All schools will implement provincially approved curricula that support student learning about human diversity. So all those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Well, it doesn't oppose, it was carried. So that is the amendment, and so now we need to vote on the motion. So the motion is all schools will implement provincially approved curricula that support student learning about human diversity. Moved by Don, seconded by Dustin. Any question? Hold it, what?
No, because the policy's always been moved and seconded already, so is it the same 2 people that you did in the beginning?
So we did ask for a friendly amendment, it didn't go through. So now we have had an amendment on it, and so now we have an amended motion. So it's a new motion. Correct? No. It's a new, I think it's a new motion, Don. Is that right? So it's a new motion, it's not a friendly amendment. It's the motion has been turned down. We now have a new motion. And if I'm wrong, tell me. But I do believe that we have a new motion that all schools will whatever. Right? Don?
Yes, I believe that that when you're doing an amendment to a motion, that motion, the mover and the second, when you do at the very end, the mover and the second is the same. It's not a new motion, it's just amendment to a motion that's already second and...
All right, I got you. So we're good with that then, Melissa? You moved it, and Dustin, you moved the seconded that motion, the amended one. Anyway, so what it is all schools will implement provincially approved curricula that support student learning about human diversity. We're good with this? So now we can vote electronically, correct? All right. Boy, Sarah, I wouldn't want to be you tonight. All right, let's vote on it. And it passed 9-0. Surprise. That was pretty good. Okay, policy committee. That's policy number 12. That was done. Awesome. Uh-oh. Yes, Trustee Rowan.
I was just going to say before you move on, I'm sure you'd follow the order of the agenda, but I just wanted to make sure that we didn't miss that I was bringing notice of motion to policy 13 for next meeting.
I was trying not to talk to policy anymore, but yes. So 8:15, notice of motion, policy number 13. Did you want to talk anything about that, Melissa?
No.
So we have notice of motion. Please take a look at it, policy number 13, and thanks for bringing that forward. Finance Committee, Trustee Nickel. Is there anything that you want to talk about the Finance Committee?
No, because we're having a finance meeting on Thursday. I told you last meeting there was nothing for me to talk about, so the same thing this meeting, there's nothing to talk about until after Thursday. On December the 3rd, I'll have plenty to say.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. Education Foundation, there's nothing there, Jody, for us to chat about, correct?
Correct, just a reminder, we'll have a meeting on the 28th.
And 821, your land, the ad hoc land planning committee, is there any update at all, Trustee Rowan?
Just a reminder that we have a meeting with Gordon Damon on November 28th.
Thank you. So this is now professional development. So be it resolved, the board approve all trustees to attend a 3-part virtual PD on Indigenous education presented by, who's going to help me with that? Okay? Gakinomash, Teach for Canada, starting November the 20th. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nichols, seconded by Trustee Dent. Any questions to this? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. 9.2, the Springfield Chambers of Commerce webinar, Making All Your Unfair Business Advantage. What's that? Oh, AI. Boy, sorry. Be it resolved that the board approve all trustees to attend the Springfield Advantage, I guess, AI conference of Commerce PD, Make Your AI Unfair Business Advantage via Zoom on December the 4th, the total cost of $50 per trustee. Pardon me? Per business. Yes, you can speak to it. Trustee Rowland. That's right. We need to get it on the table. Moved by Trustee Rowland, second by Trustee Boytson. Trustee Rowland, go ahead.
I just brought this to the board because as members of the Springfield Chamber of Commerce, it's an opportunity to have some exposure to AI for anybody in our division. It's no limit on who can attend. It's a flat rate of $50 for this webinar. It's not per person, and it must be available at that time, though. There's no replay. But I was just wondering if, because we have had interest and discussions on AI, it's not explicitly like designed for our purpose per se, it's a business-oriented one, but it would provide an exposure to what possibilities of AI and maybe even like language to using or discussing AI. And I thought it was a very value, like for $50 anybody could attend, including our administrative staff or other teachers or managers, anybody who would want to have some exposure to AI. And maybe other opportunities, maybe by our tech manager or somebody else to bring this to the school division. I think everybody's looking for I don't know, exposure to AI and how to get that. Just putting it forward. It's very value $50 for as many as want to go.
Nah, great idea. Thank you for explaining. Any questions on this? Trustee Rowan?
I would like some clarity as far as the board is concerned. I know Diane was saying paying the cost of the $50. However, Paul, you had suggested it as PD, and I'm looking for some clarification on whether we're voting in favor of paying the $50 to attend it, or whether we're looking to vote in favor of paying trustees to attend it.
Trustee Nicol?
The heading is PD development information, so I took it as a PD development information, which means that according to our bylaw, you would get paid.
If a trustee so chooses to do so, the trustee would have the ability to do that. Correct. Trustee Smith?
My question was, have we spoken to the chamber? Like, could we set it up here? Like, if we wanted to come here and do like a one link, like, do they send one link, or can we, like, how could we access it? Like, is there a limiting?
No limits. A link would be provided to you. You can do it in your own home.
I was just wondering, like, would they send it, like, for example, if they send it to you, could you forward it to me? Like, I'm just wondering.
Yep, it would be shared with whoever wanted to attend.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0, thank you. We then have capsule conference. So before we put the motion on the table, we did have a motion saying that we would send 2 trustees, and I just don't know, let's have an open conversation, April 9th to the 11th. Are the trustees interested in going to capsule? I'm just going to go around the room and find out from people. Diane, is this something that you're interested in? Lorraine, is this something? No. Dustin, is this something? No. Dawn, is this something? Alicia, is this something? Okay. Melissa? No. Donna? Robin?
I have not attended a capsule, so this sounds intriguing to me, yes.
Okay, so that's not something that Paul's going to be able to do. So we have basically 2.5. If you're interested, then say you're interested in, and basically then we would vote as to who are the 2 that are going to go. So is this, you're interested in going? Right, right. So tonight you're committing yourself to going or not going, and because right now we're going to vote, we're going to vote for the 2 out of the 3. No, not right now. Just a sec. That's what we would do. So if you're interested, then we're going to vote to it. Are you interested in going or not? Well, I'm not sure what you're wanting to do. If you want to do, we will have a vote for the 3 of you that are interested. 2 of you are going to go. I'm not sure what the hesitation is. Well, it says 2. There's already 2. Okay, so you don't want to go. I do, but I will say no because there's already 2. Okay. So the motion is going to read. The motion is going to read that be it resolved the board approve Trustee Rowland and Trustee Harris to attend the capsule conference April 9th to the 11th in Banff. Any questions to that motion? Oh, I didn't move it and second it? Ooh, there we go. So, thanks. Move 1, second, Donna. Thank you. I looked right at him, sorry. Okay, any questions to this? We good? Okay, we'll vote please. Okay, now that I cut, it went 8 and 1 abstained. Now that I cut you off, sorry, go ahead.
The reason why Sarah and I looked into registering, at least booking the rooms, because we found last time it was in Banff, by the time we voted, it was too late to stay near the conference. So the sooner we can identify who is attending, we can book and make the proper arrangements rather than the logistics of additional shuttles and things like that. We try to book in advance, at least reserving the rooms, but they won't let us. So we appreciate that we recognize who it is, and then Sarah can get on it and ensure that we have the right location and that it's the easiest for our trustees to attend.
So thanks, Sarah, for finding rooms in Regina for them to stay in, so we appreciate that. Thank you very much. And 9.4 is the CSBA Congress. And so we have a motion on the floor as we have put things aside for all local trustees to attend. Be it resolved, the board approve all trustees to attend CSBA Congress July 2nd to the 5th in Winnipeg. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by trustee Dent and seconded by trustee Nickel. Any questions to this? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. It passed 9-0, thank you. Sarah, we're giving you lots of homework, so that's perfect. 10.0 is Divisional Financial Summary Report. We don't have one. Board correspondence, I'm not sharing any information with you anyway, so forget it. No, just kidding, there's nothing important. Nice to know, thanks for putting that information in, Sarah. All the nice to know informations. Kudos to a number of the schools that are doing really well. Questions from the public. Jody, do we have any questions from the public?
I'm refreshing my my emails right now. Looks all quiet, so no responses.
There are no questions from the public. We do not believe that we are going to have any, just for people that are listening, we do not believe that we are going to have any motions coming from in camera, but we do need to go back in camera. But we'll just keep people informed. So we're going to take 5 minutes, and then we will go into in camera, continue with our in camera, and then we'll come back to finish. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We are going to adjourn our meeting, that anybody's online, so we're adjourned.